Now, before we get into the show, I just wanted to say that if your 2025 goals include starting your own podcast, I have exceptional news because my online podcasting course, Pod School, is opening very shortly. And if you want to be one of the first to find out how to enroll, just head to podschool.com.au and join the waitlist and you'll get all the info. Right, onto the show.
Got dreams of being a professional podcaster, but have no idea what you're doing?
This is impossible.
That's about to change.
A new kind of school.
Welcome to the Pod School podcast.
Hello, welcome to the show. Today I've got a question that I've been asked in a few different ways. So I'm like, oh, this is actually something that a lot of people are thinking about. The question is basically around episode frequency and whether you have to release a show weekly. So Kay asked me specifically, like, is it okay if I release a show fortnightly? Donna's also asked me, in the beginning, if weekly is too hard to commit to, can once a fortnight work? And isn't it better to have a crack and then increase it to weekly over time? Yeah, it is. That is correct. The thing about weekly episode drops is if your main goal is maintaining and growing audience, then you have to hit that frequency at least to meet that goal. Now, if you are a network and you have ads that need to be delivered and you have to hit certain download numbers and you have impressions that need to be reached and those kind of things, that is a really important thing. So you release episodes every single week, even when any of the shows and the networks that I've run, we have holidays, we don't have the hosts around all the time. We'll always batch record content for the holiday period. We might do best ofs depending on what we're working on over that time. So whatever we do, we just will never have the feed dead for a week or a month or any of those kind of things because it's really hard to build audience on the other side. Now, you're not starting with zero audience if you go on a break, but your audience doesn't immediately just drop straight back in. You have to kind of build them back. Now, that's totally fine if you're just doing something from home for the love of it. But if you have ad requirements and clients that need to have things delivered, like that's just not a possibility. But if you are just doing this at home for the passion and the love of it, and you want to do it and start it and you cannot possibly commit to weekly, of course you can start with less frequency. It's really just understanding that you will always have a better chance of building audience if you are dropping episodes consistently on a weekly basis. So if you want to start fortnightly and get in a rhythm of that, yes, you can build audience. It will be slower than if you build it with a weekly episode, but you will be able to build audience that way. And then maybe if you could increase the frequency to weekly, great, you can do that. If it's monthly, again, it might be a little slower than fortnightly to build your audience. But if you can start with that, then increase your frequency, great. Your audience, if they like what you do, is never going to be unhappy with more, but they are certainly going to be unhappy with less. So you want to get into a rhythm where you can deliver content on a schedule that works for you. And then ideally you can drop in a bonus every now and then. I think that is a much better process than trying to overcommit to something and then either not hitting those kind of commitments or alternatively sort of having to pull things back because you've gone like, oh, I'm hitting this, but it's actually a lot more work than I can handle. So ideally you want consistency above all else. If consistency for you is only monthly, but you really need to get this show out of your head, I get it. Just get it out. And then if you can increase the frequency later, that's fine. But that weekly cadence is not really about this is the only way you can have a successful podcast. It's about that's what the requirement is if you need to be giving your show the best chance to hit download goals and milestones and keep that audience growing. But if you are releasing it and you just want to create it and you've got other goals and other success metrics, which if you're listening to this, you will have heard me talk about this ad nauseum. Very important. Have your own success metrics that are like, I'm just doing this and I'm getting it out there and that is enough. And that is fine. But just deliver your show consistently so your audience know that if it's only a month, that I'm getting every month that I'm getting this episode, every month on the first day of the month or the first Monday of the month or the whatever it is that you've set as the day, that is when they will receive it. And ideally you want it to be the same day because if people are like, oh, it's a Tuesday or it's the 15th, so it'll be a Tuesday on some weeks and then it'll be like, if I've got to think more than like I know that every 4 Tuesdays I'll get something, I think that's the simplest way to roll something out if you're going to do it on a monthly basis rather than according to the date because who knows what date it is. I've got no idea. I have no idea. I mean, I don't even know what day it is some days. So I think having that kind of cadence is a much better way to do it, so your audience know every 4 Mondays it's going to come into my inbox, or every 2 Mondays it's going to come into my podcast app and I can listen to it. So yeah, if you are not starting your show because you can't commit to weekly, don't let that hold you back. Get started, jump in, and then increase it if you can. If you've got a question, please submit it via the link in the description. I would love to answer it, and I will see you next week. And of course, as always, if you need any more help with your show, make sure you check out my online podcasting course, Podschool, which you can find at podschool.com.au.
That's all for today.